Yes, my name is Giulia Malaguarnera and I am Italian. I used to live in Paris, now I came back to Sicily. Yeah, my role in OpenAIRE is engaging mostly for services and their use. So every time that you have some kind of difficulties, you can contact me directly, also through the forum that will be available in OpenPlato or uh, somehow in the help desk, and I will support you in anything you may need or you would like to customize for your necessity. Okay, so today the course that I am presenting to you is through the curator's journey, and we will try to go from the data that you are adding in the repository, and we will follow the flow after the deposit. So I have a question for you very soon. Well, before we go to the agenda, so I will go through why the curation doesn't stop at the submission. Then we will speak about following the data from the repository to the knowledge graph. Then I will explain you how to spot some gaps in the workflow or in the metadata, and how is it possible to enrich metadata information or to curate even after the submission. We will go through the full cycle of the metadata curation from detection to the connection. And then we will wrap up with a few takeaways and the next steps. So I would like that you open your mic and you share with us why a curation for you doesn't stop at the submission. Is anyone that would like to answer? No?
I'll go first, but I think I'm not sure if I'm
Yes, go ahead.
correct or not, but because most of the data has to be preserved for at least 5 years after like they have to be deposited for 5 years or 10 years. So yeah, it doesn't stop at the submission.
Yes, exactly. And sometimes also there will be many versions of the same data, for example, so the data must be curated. And the researchers may need to add more information. But there is also a gap between what the researchers usually deposit or add in the metadata information when the metadata are coming to your view. And I would like here to expose a joke. So I am a researcher by training. So what I think that my data looks like when I submit my paper, my data sets in a repository, and how they appear in a research database. So it's true that the metadata information that by we are describing the activities or the research project are not usually very well explained. We are missing to add information about ORCID. Researchers do not know about how to write correctly, for example, the affiliation. So we have many duplication about organization. Not all the university are registered in the ROR registry. And so on. There are several persistence identifiers that are not usually exposed. So we believe that the metadata information are enough, but then in the research database, this research product results not findable. Sometimes it's not clear the licensing, so we don't know if we can reuse the data. The interoperability is something that the researchers don't care, but as data stewards, of course, you would like to make sure that the information and the metadata are machine actionable. And the reusability is important to know also the ethic that is behind, even during the beginning of the project, but also after these 5 years um, of submission. Of course, it depends also on the type of research that usually for funding reason, the funders are okay for 5 years, but there might be some studies that require even 10 years of maintenance and deposition. So let's try to understand how we can make this metadata a little bit more useful for our research, in support of our researchers, and also in the daily job of data stewards. So what is the steward's mission? Is that the real work in the reality is beginning just after the submission. One key message for this session is that it's not about deposit the data, because this was already covered, and today you also had a session about the curation, but we will focus on the post-submission. The goal is to see how data stewards can enhance and enrich the researcher submitted metadata, improving the fairness, the clarity, and the reusability of the research project. So, what is the data gap that we usually find when we are passing from the data that the researcher are adding in a repository and what we really need to have? Is that usually people use as a sort of container the repositories or the CRIS system, in which they are uploading the research project that could be publications, could be data management plan, could be data sets or software or codes. So they usually throw them in this repository, but there is no connection with maybe a project or funding or organization. Sometimes the researchers are not even adding their ORCID, or they don't have one. So the daily task of a data stewards include the correct the curation that is about the discovery of the data sources by checking if all identifiers are in place, if the affiliation is correct, if the information from funders are linked, if the format is machine actionable, for example. Enrichment, because sometimes we need to have much more context about, for example, data sets, where these data sets are belonging to, what information we can have. This research is going to have an impact, for example, in the Sustainable Development Goals that are set by the United Nations. Are the keywords in place to be enough easy to find? The validation of the metadata is also another process that may take time. You probably have went through these days of this bootcamp to speak about the fairness principles, the fair validation, the metadata compliance, and so on. So these are systems that now we are trying to automatize with software that can read this specific information and give you a sort of score. So the feedback of improving the metadata is now is part of your daily task. But how to support you in this journey? Um, First of all, let's think about why this matter, because without the motivation, we cannot do anything. And I would like to start and to stress here that the good metadata are making any kind of research product much more discoverable. So if the researcher would like to have a scientific impact, you have to stress the fact that the metadata should be curated. Uh, Moreover, they enable the reuse of the metadata. So the citation, the collaboration activities of the researcher will be much more enhanced after this curation. And also the collaboration between organization will be visible if you work also in the assessment in the research field at the institutional level or at departments level and so on. Moreover, having the metadata curation done will also offer a proper context, but also be much more explicit in the licensing. One of the fear of the researcher you probably know for your daily job is that they fear that if they are oversharing their publication or their data, they believe that they will not used for the purpose were having in mind, or they have like their intellectual property is uh, um, is not protected. However, we must stress that when we are putting the right licensing, we make this explicit, so the metadata curation is a key for all the fears of researcher. Moreover, by be transparent and work in open science practices, we can say that we are enhancing the discipline's discovery, but also the usability of the systems and the collaboration activities. So we are enabling the researcher to have a stronger impact. I would like also to offer you another overview that came through the job of the coalition of research assessment in Coara, and in particular in the working group that is called Open Infrastructure for Responsible Research Assessment. What they have distinguished was a series of tiers in which there were explicit what are the components that we need to curate as data stewards. For example, the identifiers and the standards, they are at the foundation of any kind of infrastructure that we are using in the open science field, but also in general. All the identifiers are the persistence identifiers, and also the standards are those guidelines, like the OpenAIRE guideline, but also the POSI, for example, for research infrastructures, the Dublin vocabularies, and so on, that are the base of all the information that we are putting to support and create a context about the research information, the research production, output, or input. Then we have another tiers that is the publishing venue. In these tiers, we are speaking about the local infrastructures, not only the journals that are publishing the articles, but also all the repositories, the GRIS system that are part of this publication system in the green open access rules. Then we have another tier that is the scholarly metadata aggregator, that are those infrastructures that are aggregating metadata information from different sources to build huge data sets composed by metadata. An example of this scholarly metadata aggregation is the OpenAIRE Graph that you have heard during these days. And this is like the backbone database that OpenAIRE is using for several services. Several aggregators like Crossref or systems that you probably know better, like Web of Science, Scopus, other kind of aggregators. At the end, they are databases that are also having data that supports other services. For example, for statistics, um, for metrics and indicators that are related to the research. So these are all the tiers, and the reason why having a good foundation, good metadata, and invest in infrastructures bring a lot of impact and quality in the curation. Much more curation, much more curation we have in the metadata, of course, all these tiers will be much more useful and useful to understand what is the research value in a single organization at the national policies, but also in the more wider impact that could be not only scientific, but could be also societal impact or economic impact. Now let's dive a little bit more in what is happening from repository to the graph. So you probably have heard what is the OpenAIRE Graph, but I would like to stress a little bit more what is. So as I said, we have all these tiers in which we have persistent identifiers that are coming, for example, for organization, like the registration code for organization, information about the countries. Sometimes the founders in a country, they have other persistent identifiers related to organization, the connection with projects, several data sources that can be repositories or publisher or other like CRIS system and other venues. The persistent identifiers that connect the people, for example, the ORCID is the most famous one, but in some countries there are also persistent identifiers. We have information about the research product that usually have a DOI, but can have also other information that other persistent identifiers that are related to the publication, to the data, to software, or other research product. The communities are those research network that can give even more information about the single activities. What is a research graph? The research graph is, as I said, an aggregator of metadata, but also the way that we are linking this information together to create a context. The OpenAIRE Graph is a scholarly knowledge graph that is containing more than 300 million research output from 150K source worldwide. So it's not just European, but it covers all the world. And what is important and what is particular of the knowledge graph is this link activities. So we have a context that I will explain with more information. And behind it, we have automatic metadata extraction, classification, deduplication, and enrichment. So what is happening in the workflow when a data source is registered? We are onboarding several data sources that are following the OpenAIRE guideline and includes this data source system. You are probably familiar with Zenodo, which is one of the services supported, created, and maintained by the CERN, but powered by OpenAIRE. And also EpiScience is a platform for Diamond Open Access Journal. All this information are coming and registered in OpenAIRE Provide, and where we can run two automatic systems. The metadata validator is a way in which we are assessing the compliance with the interoperability guideline, while the broker is by collecting information from different sources, it's enriching the metadata information that we can retrieve from the same or similar, from the same PIDs, or for example, for the same titles. We have also instrumental data sources that are enriching or supporting in the curation or giving us metrics on the research project. So once we are aggregating all this information, we are also by extracting the full text, if it is in open access or if we have agreements with publisher, for example, we are extracting the full text, and from this we are getting extra link. For example, publication to founders. You have to imagine, like in the acknowledgement, the sentence that the founders are asking, like, we thank these founders for supporting our research. The code number, this research was supported by the grant agreement number XY from this funder. So basically what the OpenAIRE algorithm are doing is reading this information, extract the code, and connecting this automatically with the project that we have from the founders. So there are several assumptions in the algorithm that are making this link. Once we have the same DOI or same information from similar research product, we do the duplication. We are enriching the information from the metadata by inference, and then we finalize all this metadata information in what is the OpenAIRE graph at the end. This OpenAIRE graph we publish with datasets and also API that can be used from services and from OpenAIRE added value services. For example, if you would like to connect the metadata information from founders, this is how you can retrieve in Argos that you have seen during this bootcamp. However, it's possible that after this process, you may find errors and you would like to curate and to give us more information. So you can always send feedback or being part of our curator community. For example, in OpenOrgs, we are working together with you to have more information regarding an organization like an institute on a research, where we also have a parent-child relationship when the parent is the university that could come with, for example, University of Catania or its acronym UNICT, or another name Università degli Studi di Catania, for example, in Italian. So what the curators are doing is that they are saying, okay, these three are actually one single university, while, for example, the Department of Biotechnology, like Biometech, it's the child of this university. It's a department of this university. So with this kind of extra curation, we are able to support and to give more information in the broker, but also to other data sources that are collaborating with us. The OpenAIRE guideline, I will go very briefly here, are the metadata framework that have been established by the community to make interoperable the metadata information. You can see our latest guideline by clicking in guideline.openair.eu. And there you will find all the information regarding publications, dataset, and quiz system, and how make them much more interoperable with other sources. The validation process in OpenAIRE Provide, you probably have heard it before. Basically, behind the OpenAIRE Provide, there are automatic system in which you will have extra information about the metadata, like the validation, if they are conform or not with the OpenAIRE guidelines, and also having extra information about metadata enrichment that is coming via broker, or you can also download the software to have more information regarding visualization or other metrics for your activities. As I said, for the data quality, we also run automated algorithm to identify and merge duplicate entities. This will help you to not do everything manually in the deduplication process. For example, if I have a preprint and then a publication, the system can recognize like version 1, version 2. And also if an article or a publication is uploaded in different system, like from the publishers, and also in a green repository, you will find it as a different version and with different data sources. As you can see here, one data sources is the journal, and below also the PubMed Central. If there are any questions in the chat.
Yes, Julia, there is one. Does the graph communicate with other aggregators, dimensions, OpenAlex, etc., to extract, modify, and read correct metadata and default?
So there are agreements with other sources, like for example, we have agreement with publishers. So sometimes, for example, Ibesco is using the OpenAIRE Graph to enrich their metadata. We are in collaboration with Crossref to enrich metadata information. With OpenAlex, we have tried some collaboration, but most of the activities are similar or overlapping. So there are collaboration everywhere, but all of us have a different scope.
One more, Julia.
Yes.
How do you plan integrating the graph with EOSC nodes?
So they are already, the OpenAIRE Graph is a backbone service, so it's already a data source that is behind EOSC, so it's already used by EOSC. The integration with the EOS-KU node will depend on the registration of the data sources. So the idea is that through OpenAIRE Provide, we register as many data sources from the EOS-KU node in order that all the data sources are clearly visible in EOSC.
Thank you for this presentation. I think this is so important, the monitoring. But I will present a challenge that I think you're trying to resolve by training, but I don't know if there are other solutions. For instance, at my institutional level, there are still some reluctance to make monitoring open, as you may know as well from your experience, but there are some at least some, we're trying to implement, at least in some disciplines, some monitoring of types of research outputs and so in which journals are they published or everything. But what we're facing, and this is the work of a colleague, so I'm here just exposing what she sometimes shares, is that the information on the institution is completely wrong. Sometimes they are part of a research group or an institute because they are affiliated to several units of research and development, and that it's not mentioned in the article. And so they try to combine different sources of information to identify the outputs. But this is something that they can do more or less and with several difficulties at the local level. And so when we escalate at this high OpenAIRE graph level, my question is what is the percentage of potential bias, not bias, but gaps in the information or some misinformation or how can we solve this? I know that you are using different sources, but your vision on this maybe.
Yes, so this was an issue that several people from our community have showed. This is why we launched a service very recent. It was 1 year and a half or 2 years ago. That is called OpenOrgs. I will explain you later in this presentation. In which we are calling for having curators from organization that can really use our software to say, yes, this is the correct organization, this is the ROR that is affiliated, this is the university. I know this name, but this name is, for example, an industry that we have collaborated in a project, something like that. So unfortunately, in this moment, everything is manual, but we have a suggestion that I will explain in a few. So I will go on with the presentation so we can go also to this matter. And if you have extra requests, we will also invite you to be part of this community. So as I said, we are enriching information from the text mining algorithm from the full text. And from this full text, we are extracting information, for example, about the open access journal Ruth, information about the costs that are spent. We are using extra algorithm to do text mining and extract field of science and sustainable development goals based on the content of the abstract. And these are part of the reaching of the metadata information that we do via mining algorithm. At the end, we have the explore page that is the UX UI, let's say the search engine for understanding the content of the OpenAIRE graph. And here you will have information about publication, metadata that are there, from which repository or data sources you have the information, if it's linked or if it's open or not open. So if it's an open access articles or it's in a closed system and so on. You will have also information from the ORCID, the DOI, if there are extra handle, the name, the publication, all the metadata in one single place. And also it's possible to see the related organization. In this case, you will not see any kind of duplication process, but this is could be a way for you to spot that the organization is not correct, and then you can report back in our system. Moreover, we can also extract information about extra metadata or metrics that we are finding from the publications. Let's speak about the third part of these activities, that is a focus on the information ambiguity. So, for example, as Ines was asking, we have since we have different data sources, all the metadata can be found very scattered in different sources. We have different name to mean the same thing, and the metadata itself have various identifiers. It's the case, for example, in Portugal, that they don't have just the ORCID, but they have also a persistent identifiers from the funders that is specific for a researcher. Then, as it was pointed out, we have a different structure inside the organization, and sometimes we don't have this information that are even not that straightforward. So the key of success for a data steward is to ensure that we have that the metadata are curated and that we have the correct instrument in which we can communicate, clarify, disambiguate information that became essential to clean this metadata and then make them useful or valuable for any kind of assessment. So there is a problem in the importing phase, as we said, that we have so many data sources that can be associated with the research product, projects, organizations, funders, and so on. Another problem is the disambiguation. So the data sets, the registry, information about the directory that are part of them, the funders, how much information we can find, for example, in Cordis or other system. So a part of what OpenAIRE Graph is doing is that there is a part that is using AI to deduplicate process and to identify comparison and decision trees about the deduplication that then can serve for different kind of activities. For example, if you want a statistic for research assessment, we give the monitor in which also at the beginning you may find several errors in the metadata. And this is helpful for you to go back to the repository and spot where there are the missing metadata. Explore, that is used as a search engine of the OpenAIRE Graph, it's also useful to spot if a data source is not deduplicated or an organization have multiple names for the same organization that needs to be disambiguated. So in the OpenOrgs service, what we do is that we are offering a community for the curators to have a sprint. So every twice per year we are running a sprint to work together and to curate the metadata information from our institutes or the nations if we know the organigrams of the universities. The pillars of OpenORGs are, in fact, the fact that we have automatic suggestion of duplicates, and this is important to curate the metadata. We have also the possibility of curating where there are lack of information. For example, if we can link ORCID with organization, we may have like a suggestion in the OpenAIRE Graph. And also the fact that sometimes there is a manual management of duplicates, and it corrects some ambiguities. So in this way, by deduplicating and adding more information and the duplication of data sources, we are enhancing the information and the results that we have. We use this community of experts and so far we are happy with this community. Now let's go a little bit more in the detection and connection of these activities. One of the activities that the data stewards must perform is to have a quality check. So you are becoming as a little bit a detective in checking the clarity and the occurrence of the metadata to describe research product, articles, and so on. You are also verifying the PID that are associated with a research product, verifying if the license is stated, as well as the reuse condition and the access condition, open access, embargo, and so on. And then you can apply a curation checklist and check what are the policies or the templates at the level of the institution. In this bootcamp, it was also presented Argos for research administrators. It's good because when you are working also in data management plan, you can spot a little bit, your eyes will become a little bit more trained to spot the metadata gaps. So a diagnosis about the health, the clean, the validity, and the metadata information can be performed by automatic process, but also with the experience that you are collecting each other, and also by creating a community of curators. The metadata enrichment it can be also part of your role by advocating inside the university for making sure that the researchers are registered with the ORCID, making sure that there is a correct registration of the university in the appropriate registries like the ROR. You will see if presentations that can be published in Zenodo or in repositories have a DOI assigned or other endors that can be persistent identifiers of an article, a dataset, a code, a software, and so on. And check if they have used the controlled vocabularies, like the core vocabularies or the Dublin core, and so on. Moreover, you have the possibility of automatically curating the data, as it was explained in the previous presentation of today, and also the possibility to link the metadata information. And now we will see a few methods. The output is that the quality of data will be much more enhanced, or at least of the information than we can use in a more comfortable way to do research assessment. So the role of of persistent identifier, as I said, it's again a part of the OpenAIRE graph. So once we have created persistent identifiers, we can really have data that will be much more automatically curated, and you have just to check if everything is fine, or if you spot like errors in which the algorithm can learn and can avoid that every month that we are renewing the metadata information, they are not very curated. Please don't think that the OpenAIRE graph is not curated enough, because we can spot errors also in other database. What the OpenAIRE graph is providing on Plus is this deduplication enrichment process and the curation community that instead is cleaning and enhancing the quality of the data. So sometimes you see that database are huge, while, for example, they don't apply a deduplication process. So the quantity is not always a score of the quality of the metadata. That will depend on the system that is working usually on the backstage, as most of you do. And we are very thankful for the work that you are doing. So now let's go a little bit deeper in the system that we can use to curate and enrich the graph or spot errors. So you can really rely for assessment or for bibliometric analysis, or just simple to search research project, software, and so on via OpenAIRE. So we spoke about the OpenAIRE graph as a data backbone, but you may don't have a very technical background in computer science or in the use of the API, and you would like to simply have a system that is much more user-friendly. And this is the case of OpenAIRE Explore, in which you will find all the contents of the OpenAIRE graph. The Explore interface is this one that you see on the right part of my slide, and you have the possibility to use several kinds of search. So you can go directly to the search engine bar to type what we are looking for. You can go to the search tab that is above, or go directly to the advanced search, in which you can say, I want to search these keywords from this author, from this organization, and I want to exclude this organization that have a similar name, for example. And this is very useful to have the advanced search. In OpenAIRE, we have also the possibility to deposit, so to find data sources that are already compatible with OpenAIRE, or having more information about the data sources compatibility. We have also information about funders, so who are the funders that are collaborating with us and providing direct information from the project that they are supporting and funding. And also, what is very important for you is the link functionality. That is my favorite in OpenAIRE Explore, because it's the one that can create really the link between several persistent identifiers or a different research output. So let's go a little bit deeper. The search, as I said, we can do by keywords, by persistent identifiers, by research product, by project, data sources, organization. We have several filters here on the left side, and also there are a possible way to sort. For example, sort by relevance, sort by dates, and so on. And very interesting, if you have reporting activities, is that if you would like to know from a project how many publications were produced, you can go to the project part tab, also select just the publication, and you can go here to this arrow to download the Excel file or the CSV file or JSON file, whatever you are much more comfortable to work with. And then you will have all the information that can support you in reporting. So you can filter by product, by access mode, by impact indicators, by and download also the CSV results. We have a limit of 2000 results because we have seen that if you go over, it's very hard to manage information to do statistics. But if you wish to have much more downloading, you can feel free to contact us and to let us know. As I said, the OpenAIRE Explore is also a way to really understand what are the research projects that we have. We have tailored for each entity, so for publication, dataset, software, and so on. You can have an overview like this one. You can see the relationship. So the relationship in this case is the DOI with the authors list. In this case, also the Sustainable Development Goals, the suggestion about the field of science, where the funding are coming from, and so on. Oops. So this is the detailed research product. You can also see if there is any related research. So, for example, I am interested in COVID. For this specific risk in Belgium, I would like to know what is the COVID in Switzerland and so on. Also, what could be the organization that I can collaborate with. So this is interesting for the researcher if they would like to enhance the collaboration activities. We have information also about organization. As I said, for example, here we have the UK Data Archive as an example. And here in this tab that we have underlined, we have the ROR ID, the Wikidata, and these other identifiers. So in this case, it's very useful to understand what are the related activities, the related identifiers. It's also possible through project to have even more information. Why we suggested to use Argos because it's already connected with the OpenAIRE Graph, so it will appear as a data management plan already connected with the research project. This will make the research activities much more interoperable.
Giulia, we do have one question in the meantime. So for datasets, which core metadata required? Do you have also domain community metadata schema?
All the metadata schema are those that you can find in the interoperability guideline, in which we are making clear what are the metadata information that are mandatory, and also what will be those preferred one. We based the OpenAIRE interoperability guideline to the international metadata schema. Usually we refer to core vocabularies, to the Dublin core, and we usually have like a community discussion to understand if there is the need to make it even more compatible. Okay, so the last part that is very important is how to do the link. If you go in OpenAIRE Explore, there is this link functionality that basically you can search for a project. You can link with a community or you can link research projects to each other. For example, my project is called Got on a Chip, and I have produced in this project a paper and I made a presentation. So I would like that my paper and my presentation will be linked to my project funding. So I go to the OpenAIRE Explore, I search my project acronym, and then I use this link to add the presentation and to add the publication. In this way, I will have everything that is linked, and then I just click that it's fine, and the OpenAIRE Graph will say, okay, this is true or not. Another possibility is also to claim by linking the resources. It's also to claim the ORCID. So each researcher can log in OpenAIRE Explore and add and claim their ORCID ID by clicking. It's a simple click. For example, in this case, you see that Miriam Baglioni has this ORCID that is black. So she can connect to, she can log in OpenAIRE. She can log in also with her ORC ID. And by clicking here in claim, she will have directly the link. What is good of this system is that it's not just appearing in the OpenAIRE Graph, but it's synchronized with the ORCID record. So at the end, even in your ORCID, you will have information about the list of contribution that is present there.
At some point, you mentioned that the data management plan could be used to improve interoperability. I was just wondering how is it specified, data management plan, in order to be machine readable or machine actionable?
Okay, so this is, for example, the effort that is behind Argos, but also in another project we are collaborating with other software to make sure they are connected with this, let's say, idea of the knowledge graph. So having all these persistent identifiers and metadata information that are linked each other. When you are adding this information in a data management plan, in the reality, what are you doing is adding metadata regarding a project that will be funded. So this famous link that is in a little knowledge graph at the end can be also similar to what we think it's a data management plan machine actionable. So it's a series of metadata information, license, ethical activities that are describing datasets, software, publications that will be produced in a context of a project that in the reality are linked together. So by having this import and export of metadata information, for example, I will import metadata from Zenodo, I will export the data management plan as a publication in the graph, I can retrieve more metadata information.
Yeah, and in templates also there could be some useful information if the templates are somehow standardized as well.
I see here that Roberto is asking what does it mean machine actionable formats. It means that the computers can read automatically and they are not in a format that is just an Excel file. So this kind of Python formats or are easier to be read by a computer, for example, to perform AI curation.
Can you give an example?
So instead of downloading in an Excel file, I can extract in a form of API. So the API is like in a format that the machine can read. It's like LaTeX when people are using LaTeX instead of Word, because the Word or the PDF are not easy access to get extract information from a computer. But the other format that is already in a code system is something that the machine can easily reuse.
So if the data is archived in an SQLite file, is that considered machine readable?
I'm not sure. I don't know
But
if maybe
it is
Jonathan.
So
will try to-
it's if I had to make a parallel, I would say, imagine you put your data on your personal website just as an attachment. That's not machine readable because you're not specifying to the website that it can be read. Whereas repositories and all these type of things are machine readable because they have codes that tells the harvesters, the computers basically to get that information, to extract that information. I don't know if that makes more
yes,
sense.
I think I have the general idea. I was trying to be more specific to verify, no? I mean, if you deposit in a repository the data as we usually do, no, as Excel files or CSVs, you do not explicit the structure of the data. No? What are the relations? What are the keys? If instead of putting the data as CSVs, you put them in an organized SQLite file, no, which is a relational database, you are expliciting the keys and all the connections within the data. And since it is SQL, it is machine actionable or not.
So you're talking about the actual data sets, and this with the graph, it's more considering the
Metadata.
yes, exactly. So it's
Yeah.
I can't find the word anymore, but you in the future, yes, probably it will be able to map what's to harvest what's inside the data, but currently, except if I'm wrong, there's no not even the OpenAIRE Graph does that yet.
I will answer also to the question from Ines here. When should we use the OpenAIRE Graph? So yes, the primary use can be the organization, the monitoring of metadata information that we are aggregating, but also to link different kind of research product. So as I said, it's useful, for example, when this process is not automatic, or if you have to report all the publication in a project, you simply make sure that, for example, the researchers that are working in that project have uploaded correctly the information in the repository, adding the correct metadata. You can check if in the OpenAIRE Graph they are mentioned. So it's a way for you to have an extra place where you can check the information, and also for the researchers to enhance their collaboration activities or find similar research.
From researcher's perspective, the interaction with the Open Graph is through Explorer, right? Because they can only do queries and
Yes, you can also use for bibliometric analysis, for meta-analysis. If you would like to focus a meta-analysis based on data sets, or if you would like to know more about the softwares or codes that are produced by, I don't know, a department, and you need to assess that kind of information that in this moment are not easy to find, let's say, connected to the research. So you know that the OpenAIRE Graph is, I would say, a sort of Google of the research, in which you can find anything that could be related to it.